Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Where the Owls Sleep. It's another Sunday sessions. You're with me, your host Mitch, and my co-host Stocky. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good.
So far, two weekends on the bounce. No game, but it's tomorrow evening.
Yeah. Oh, we'll save that trepidation for both of us till later.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that in a little while. But we also have two usual panel members now jumping on. We've got John and Samir. How's it going, boys? You good?
All good, all good. Good to be back.
Yeah, pleased to be back, man. Good to see everyone.
Yes.
All right, boys.
Oh, we actually have one more joining us as well. He sorted out his technical issues. How's it going, Jack? You good?
BBC technicians have come to the studio. Don't worry about
it. Right. Let me. Right. I'll show it like this for now. Jack, I'll get you back on in a second. I just rejigged the screen for 4 rather than 5. So give me a minute. But this weekend's Premier League fixtures, it's been a bit of a terrible one for me because all the teams I wanted not to win have won. But might as well start on the last game that's happened this evening. The supposed title chasers Arsenal dropping more points at a terrible Man United. How you feeling about that, Samir?
Oh, mate, I've got no feelings left, honestly. Especially towards Premier League. I've just got no feelings left. I go to every game with just like no hope whatsoever. Honestly. Yeah, it was a terrible watch, man. Especially from like our part. Like it was just horrible. Like how we've gone to go play in PSV and smashing them 7-1 to going to Old Trafford, who were probably worse to face Man United, are probably worse than PSV, and making them look good for a bit. But yeah, no, it was horrible, man. Honestly, just watching the points gap getting bigger and bigger between Liverpool, it hurts, man. It hurts.
I was thinking that because the commentator actually said on it, which was pretty ruthless. When you went 1-0 down, they said Liverpool's promotion party's now been brought forward a week.
Yeah.
They actually could have a ridiculous gap by the end of it now, couldn't they? I'm not saying stick the knife in whatsoever. I don't really particularly want
to. But there's nothing we could have done about that. Like, honestly, I hate complaining with like injuries and stuff like that, but everyone can see, like, if we had had our front three today, we would have destroyed Man United. If we had had our front three against any other team after January, we would have destroyed a lot of teams. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm hearing a lot of this front three talk, yeah, but like Martinelli's one of your front three.
Bro, Martinelli got better.
He played.
He's been.
Ranieri's meant to be the next generational talent. He played.
Yeah.
So really, you're missing a front man. No.
Yeah, but like you said, we got a 17-year-old who should not be playing this many games. We got Moreno, our centre mid, who we just bought up front. He's playing up front.
Well, no. You can't chuck Moreno in there because that's on. What
are you talking about? You can't chuck. He's there.
That's on Arteta for deciding to play a DM up front. That you can't put anything else other than Arteta.
We have nobody else. You don't understand it. We've got no one. There's no one else that can play.
You haven't got Raheem Sterling sitting on the bench in a forward position.
I've ever played with 10 men. I'm not gonna lie.
It's a squad build problem which falls down to the powers that be, and Arteta is involved in it. So you can't be complaining about it.
No, 100%. But I'm just saying, like, these results have come down to that. Like, I know we should have, like, we keep saying it. We should have gone for a striker. We should have maybe gone for another winger. But like, what can we do? Like,
do you not think this mentality?
Stockpile central midfielders by the looks of it. That seems to have been the approach over the last year or so. But
I was saying this to someone a few days ago. I just look at, like, in the past, we've had good strikers, we've had good wingers, but then we didn't have good midfielders and we didn't have good defenders. So I just look at it in the last last 4 years he's building on our defense and he's building on our midfielders. And now everyone looks at it. The missing piece now is the striker. I reckon if we do have a world class striker, I reckon we'll win it all.
But when you had your strikers, you were winning games through your set piece coach, who seems to have gone on holiday for a few months. I think it's a little bit easy to keep moaning about players that are injured. Every team has injuries.
No,
I think it's a bit deeper myself.
every team does, but you could see how we're struggling. Like up front, like defensive wise, we ain't struggling at all. Up front, we are struggling. Like I've never seen us struggle like this in years. Like to score goals. Like Man United probably have the worst defense in the league, and we only managed to score one goal and barely create any chances. So I just look at the front three, and we did struggle. I know, like everyone's got injuries and stuff like that. It's nothing to complain about, but not everyone's in the title race. So I look at it that way.
Well, to be fair, you're not in the title race either. So what are you
Oh
going
yeah, we're out, but still, we were there, innit?
No, mate, it was never a race. It's just been Liverpool. I've been saying Liverpool since you first came on the show in like December. Samir, come on.
Yeah,
There was never really a race.
Well, December Chelsea was in the title race.
Nah,
But no,
they've won it at a canter, and I don't know what you think of it, but if they just keep winning, it looks like Tottenham or Chelsea will have to give them a guard of honour.
Oof.
Oh,
But if they start dropping points, that's you, man, giving them a guard of honour.
fuck that.
Ooh.
Yeah, you know what? Who cares, man? We gave Man United one. We gave Robin van Persie one. Nothing could get worse than that.
Oh, that's deep.
So
I forgot
I
about
don't.
that.
Yeah, I don't really hate Liverpool like that. We don't hate Liverpool like that. They're just in our way. I don't mind seeing Liverpool win the league. Like we have no like rivalry with Liverpool like that. So hey, you know what? They won it fair and square. They dominated this league this year,
Yeah.
and there's nothing more we could do about that. Even if we had our players, it would have been tight. But yeah, we go again next year, man. We still got Champions League to play. You got to pray on Champions League somehow.
That Messi, you say you've got Champions League, but you've got either Madrid team
I know.
in the next round, and Atletico.
Yeah, we'll save that for the show.
Yeah. Atletico and basically Newcastle on steroids, so you ain't beating them. And Real Madrid, so you probably won't beat them either.
Chelsea won Champions League was the worst squad I've ever seen them have. So you never know. That's the thing with Champions League. You just never ever know. Like I'm not gonna go into a Real Madrid game fully confident, but you just never know, innit? You just gotta pray. You just gotta pray with them games.
I hope you've got Samir, but it's
I
I
mean,
hope you got, but I think it's like
it's the last one, innit? It's the last trophy.
yeah, no, fair enough. Other games today: Tottenham, Bournemouth. Anyone catch any of that?
Yeah.
I watched that.
What bits and bobs? It looked like Bournemouth were going to canter to a win, and then all of a sudden, Tottenham scored a cross and came to life.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so crap. They are so fucking lucky. they're properly dreadful.
Yeah.
I was actually quite glad they came back into it because I wanted Bournemouth to drop points, and I've got Ange as my FPL manager this week, so I needed the points.
What?
The way you talk about him.
You know what? I looked at it, and they've got a run of games where they've got teams that are more than 5 places above them in the league. So if they get anything from the game, you get pretty decent points.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but
so even that draw, it just got me an extra 10 points. So I'll take it.
Yeah, you need it as well desperately, don't you? Because I got 88 points this week, and you got 42.
Yeah, and Palmer's a prick of Mr. Penalty.
Yeah, that's what I want, Jack. I want personal vendettas in this.
There we go.
You really desperately need that assistant manager. You probably need, I don't know, a director of football as well, maybe coming in, or.
I would like to say that last time Jack spoke to me like this about FPL, we had a 100-point lead, which quickly disappeared.
Yeah, it's crept up back to 40-50 now, though, hasn't it? Really. So yeah, the Ange gamble didn't land, did it? Well, actually, you are right. It is so skewed though that because I thought when I saw it, it's like, why the fuck has he put Ange there? And I remembered that Spurs are more than 5 places behind Bournemouth. It's mad, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
They actually look good, Bournemouth, though.
They
Like
did.
when they were attacked, they just look like slice through you. They've actually just a good team, aren't they? Like it's not like they're just riding a positive wave. They're just a decent team.
Yeah.
Very well coached as well.
Well coached, with good ideas, with good pacey players, and a team that's also got injuries. But they just do well. Hopefully, they get a decent finish and get European football next year because they deserve it. And then hopefully that will knacker them out and they'll be crap in the league again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just felt like Spurs was just giving it to them sometimes. It's just like, here you go, have the ball, here you go again, have the ball again, here you go.
Oh, Romero, disaster class.
To the game. First 10 minutes of the game, it's just like, yeah, you go, Bournemouth. Bournemouth just didn't want to put it away sometimes, man. Honestly, could have been way more, but they just didn't want to kill it.
Yeah, well. Chelsea Leicester was the other game on at 2:00, which wasn't televised, but it did no favours to me in any way, shape, or form. I thought Leicester were going to nick a draw, and then Cucurella pops up. Palmer missed pen as well.
Yeah, your captain Palmer. So it's best to say exactly what he is. Then my transferred in player Cucurella scored.
He didn't have technical issues. He was on Fantasy Premier League.
I know. I've only just stopped dancing, mate, around the kitchen. That's what I realised. I've been on Amazon trying to buy a Cucurella. Actually, no, I actually fucking hate him, to be fair. But what we do for football, hey. But no, you have had a legitimate stinker of everything going wrong, haven't you?
Yes, 100%. This whole weekend was the same. Late goals, late penalties. All went against me yesterday as well. The Brighton game, I thought, yes, decent. They're going to draw. No goal for João Pedro. 96th minute penalty when there's only 5 minutes injury time. You've got to love that, haven't you?
Yeah, again, yeah. But didn't sleep much at Saturday either, dancing. Yeah. If I can translate to betting, I'd probably wouldn't have a broken laptop, to be honest. But unfortunately, it appears to just be a 1 week burst on fantasy football.
But John, your game, Liverpool-Southampton. At half time, it looked like there could have been a bit of an upset, to be honest, when fake John Joe Shelby got you a 1-0 lead for half time, and then Nunes probably should have got sent off, and then all of a sudden they turned it around in the second half. Did you go?
Yeah, I was at the game. As a result, it's the only game I've really seen this weekend. I've spent most of today half asleep from all the travel and that. So, the Poundland Voldemort game put us in front. To be fair, I don't know whether to say we were good value for a lead at half time, but considering we're just coming off the back of sort of like back-to-back 4-0s, where, to be honest, I think last time I was on here, I commented like we've just lost 4-0 like a couple of times where teams haven't had to even get out of first gear to do so. We've been that shambolic, but we sort of binned off this idea of having a back three with one recognised centre half, which was always nice. So we went back to sort of like a flat four, and we just really doubled up well on Salah. Didn't give a lot of space. First half, we actually, we pressed well, we ran well, like a lot of good interceptions in vital areas. Suleiman was brilliant for getting us kind of 40, 50 yards up the pitch, but the problem then really came from it's a problem we've had all season. It's just that there's no potency up top. There's not exactly what he might be getting us up the pitch, but there's no one busting a gut, making a brilliant run that's going to kind of give him something to give us a chance in that sense. We do get in front. I actually thought we might have got chalked off for a foul on the keeper at first, but like we were right down the other end of it. So pretty much any of the contentious incidents, I've had to kind of come back and watch through the highlights. I kind of said like before we came on air, but like the David Coote apology tour continues again. I don't know what your boys' take on it is, but to me, I'm sort of like not sure how Nunes is still on the pitch like by half time. To me, it seems he's not made an attempt at the ball. He's gone in with deliberate intent and just sort of cleared a player out. I know it's not the worst contact, but for me, just for intent alone, I would have said it's violent conduct. But I would be interested to see what your guys' take on that be.
Well, for me personally, that's a red card.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of them that falls into the bracket that if it gets given on the pitch, it doesn't get overturned.
Yeah.
So it wasn't given on the pitch and they still didn't overturn it. I think it's one that just falls into that bracket that they stay with the referee's call either way. But I just don't see how you could chase a man for 20 yards and just kick him for no reason and then not get a red card. It's bonkers to me, to be fair.
Did he actually kick him, or was it just the shoulder bars that went push
No,
him
he kicked
over?
him.
Booted
No,
him,
he's kicked him. Yeah, he's kicked him. Yeah.
Booted him.
I thought it was
Like
just
he was
shoulder-
shooting it, like he was having a shot at goal. He did that with his ankle.
Yeah. Well, I think it's probably because you look at it,
I
Carl
know,
Peters
that's
up
just
straight
red.
away. If he's stayed on the floor and started rolling over, I think maybe he could have had a shout, but he's just got up straight away and got into Nunes' face, and probably doesn't look that bad now because obviously Kyle Walker Peters has just got straight back up.
Yeah,
I think that's probably
I'd agree.
Probably doesn't help.
I'd agree with that. You know, it's so hard to get decisions at places like Anfield for any club, let alone a club, you know, where everything's going against you. You just got to play the game. I'd actually say it's a bit naive not to have done that. And I think I don't.
It's a shame we're at that spot where we have to say that, though, isn't it, John?
Oh, for sure, absolutely. But even it's gonna help it by 1%, and that was such on a knife edge of a scenario that, and also the other thing is as well that the longer play doesn't start again, you've got more chance of potentially getting into the VAR person's head. They're watching replays. The play isn't starting. Everyone's looking at the referee. The referee's, you're waiting for him to put his hand to the ear type thing. But these are just things that, unfortunately, when you're in that position, like Southampton are, they just don't go for you. But it is bollocks, though. It happens in rugby, where the way that they ask the question to their version of VAR, can I do this, or is this something? I just feel like it's wrong, though. Like, why? What you've just said, James, is wrong in it. Basically, you're saying it's not enough to be overturned by VAR, but if he did give it for VAR to intervene, but if he did give it, then it's probably not enough for VAR to say overturn it.
It should just be get the right decision regardless.
Yeah.
And not ignore what the ref's given on the field, but you kind of just got to go with the right decision if it is majority red card, rather than saying, oh, well, it's not enough of a red card for us to say you've got it wrong.
Hearing, because I was watching Soccer Saturday, they did say they were having a long look at it. So they was obviously watching the replay over and over and over again, and they still didn't.
From what I saw on Twitter earlier today, apparently VAR was like sub 10 seconds. The actual
shut up.
That was actually 10 seconds, and they were saying the flip side of the penalty that Liverpool got was like
was a longer look, isn't it?
Was like 5 seconds. So they're saying it was roughly the same. They're like saying how can you spend so little time looking at if that's a red? But the flip side, so little time looking about whether that is actually a pen or not.
Yeah.
But they just.
I mean,
you're
that's
in that
crazy. Only 10 seconds.
I mean, though, like blinkers off. Though I would say, like second half, like Arne Slot's gone in. He's made a triple sub right at the beginning of the second half. It's completely changed it. Like the tempo that Liverpool came out, we couldn't live with them. Like at that point, it's like they were just knocking the ball about at a tempo for basically for the 10 minutes before until they were 2-1 up, and then the game sort of plateaued out, and then I think I actually thought at the point we went 2-1 down, it was like, actually take your pick. This could be as many as you want. We did okay to sort of not let that happen, but at the same time, we weren't necessarily brave enough to go and try and force the issue to see if we could get back level. by the time we did, like we were pretty much we're 3-1 down. So by that point, it's kind of a moot point. But credit to Liverpool, man. I mean, like in terms of the way they came back out in the second half, they were brilliant.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. The other standout result I would say there is Forest getting a win at Man City. To be fair, I thought City were going to run away with it in the first half when I was watching, but then Forest just grew into it more and more and more as the game went on. It's got a fantastic goal as well. To be fair to them, that could put them in a great position now to qualify for the Champions League.
Would you say, although it was nice from Forest's point of view, wouldn't you say that was a little bit dodgy keeping from Edison
Yeah.
at the near stick?
Hell yeah.
Joe Hart tried giving him it's taken a slight defection, and
I didn't see that.
it seems you know what it's like. We're obviously, especially me and Mitch, we're very old fashioned. You don't get beat at your near post.
Yeah.
You know what? I've never bought into that.
Mm.
I've never bought into that. You don't get beat at your near post thing, because if you're so adamant not to get beat at your near post, you're just going to be easier to get beat the other side. You've still got to level it out a bit, so there's always going to be a gap to get beat at your near post.
I didn't think it was great keeping myself.
Yeah, I didn't. I
just thought it was he beat his man, got his half a yard, and smashed it, and he.
Oh yeah. I'm not subtracting from Hudson-Odoi.
Yeah.
By the way,
I'd put it more down good forward play than bad keeping.
What a zinger from Gibbs White.
Oh yeah, lovely.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was dirty.
Oh, that's some dirty curves.
Oh man. Yeah, that crossball. Yeah, I don't know. I think I heard the commentator was like, like Edison is literally right by the post. How is that gone in? He's literally touching the post. Like, how the hell has that gone in? I thought it was a good goal. I thought it was, and I thought Forest were strong. Like, and like they're battling with City, like the tackling and stuff. Because we faced them a week before that, and then I didn't see that energy. I didn't see any of what I saw against City yesterday. I don't know. I think they just looked at City and thought, they're not City of old. Let's go at them, and they tried and tried and tried, but Chris Woods, the Man City fan, 100% Man City fan, was probably the only player there that was a letdown. But everyone else, I thought, perfect from start to finish.
Chris Wood's been poor for a while, though. To be fair, he's showing more of the Chris Wood that I remember than what we were seeing earlier in the season.
Yeah, but every time he faces City, it's like non-existent. He's not involved at all. Like, yeah, he has been like, he hasn't been the Chris Wood in the past few games, but he's been involved. Like, he's been there. But City, it was just like, oh shit, where is Chris Wood? I heard he's a City fan, so.
Do you think Chris Wood could end up being like a victim of their success though? Like if they do get into the top 4, top 5, because they might end up in a position where actually they just have to be ruthless enough to sort of bin him off to bring in someone who's going to be a little bit better at that next level. So do you think he could end up being a victim of that?
I think it kind of has to be. If they want to go to the next level and actually do anything next season, they're going to have to do that. They can't just think, but we'll roll with the same players again and be loyal to them because they got them where they are. Every team has to do that. That's just not a Nottingham Forest thing. Everyone's got to do it.
I'm assuming he's like 34, 35, right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So you're going to get someone younger. Like, he would still be there on the bench and stuff, experience-wise, but he won't be starting next year, especially with Champions League. Like, I think they'll go for someone younger, probably big money as well. I think they'll buy a big money summer striker.
It's the type of player that would probably assist Southampton. Like,
we'd take it.
Yeah, I think he's either going to stay there and know that he's going to be on the bench sometimes, or he'll just be the perfect signing for a promoted club.
Yeah, I actually don't think he'll stay to be on the bench, because that's why he's had so many clubs. Because every time it gets to the point where they've replaced him for someone better, he goes. He doesn't. He's not one of them that.
He'll sit at the Champions League, mate. He's never ever going to get the opportunity again.
Yeah,
even if he comes on against fucking Rennes or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's never going to get the opportunity again, is he? So if he's ever gonna take on the chin, you're going to be on the bench a lot now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's earned the right to as well, hasn't he? He's earned the right to sit on the bench and
18 fucking goals.
get a Champions League game. So it's mad. When he was in the Championship, he was fucking shy.
When he was at Newcastle, he was shy as well.
Yeah.
And like, yeah.
This was the guy that when we was the season we was looking to get relegated, and then the takeover came, and Eddie Howe came in. Everybody was asking me what he did, and I had to resort to he initiates our press, and that was it. That was the only thing I could give you as a positive for him. He initiated our press, and that was it.
He just couldn't score for Burnley anymore. That was all you did.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, we just took him off Burnley. Yeah, that was the best plus that season. Right, rolling into the main topic of the evening. Sort of both top and bottom of the Premier League. We'll start with the top, and what I'm saying is sort of a little bit of a change in power at the top, because you've got your traditional, whatever you want to call them, big six, top six, cartel six, whatever the hell you want to call them, which is your Man City, Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham, and Chelsea. But the last few seasons, there always seems to be one or maybe two teams that infiltrate. And two of the teams that would traditionally be part of the top six are now in the bottom half of the table. So do you think we're seeing a time where more the media are going to have to reassess this whole big six thing? Because they still do it now. Like, they'll show stats from a random team and then say against the big six, and they still keep them six. Even though if you look at it, Tottenham have only been in it twice over the last 5 years.
Yeah, I'm quite passionately and bitter is how I describe myself about this scenario. So Brighton, Brentford, Bournemouth. I mean, I could be wrong on this. I don't think they've ever won anything between all three of the clubs.
No, they haven't. Brighton definitely haven't, because when the FA Cup draw was done, that was said.
Yeah, well, well, I'm 90% sure Bournemouth haven't, and I don't think
they have.
So those three clubs all have ridden the perfect Premier League wave that came across them. The year, so 2012, I think, when unfortunately my team were relegated, Bolton. That's when the money exploded. It was already obviously ridiculous, but it exploded in 2013, and all three of those clubs have just ridden that wave now and done incredibly well and bought incredibly well and have now got almost models in place where they are now fully solidified top 14 Premier League team. Obviously, that Brighton are better than that, but they're solidified potentially, almost top 10 teams now. So someone like Brighton, if they get into the Champions League, or Nottingham Forest, if we discuss this in a few years' time, if they have a good season in the Champions League and buy well, they've then got a chance just to solidify themselves and become, because Forest are a massive club. They're a huge club.
Yeah.
Leeds have not been able to get in, stay there, build upon it, and obviously grow and get back to where they were. So I think you're right, but I think the situation is now that nobody could call the top 10 in the league. No one could call the top 10. So you can't even get a top 10 remotely right. You can't get a top 6 and a top 4. And I think Champions League is going to 5th now, isn't it? I don't really understand.
Yeah.
I think it's going to 5th now. So
it's to do with coefficients.
Yeah, the chance and opportunity now for someone to get, and Newcastle as well. I'm not just saying that, James. Obviously, you've had a bad week, right? So to make you happier, but Newcastle, if they were to get in the Champions League, build on that, have that good season, don't have the struggle in the league, it's carnage trying to predict what it is.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I look at it also as in you gotta have that to be in the top 6. You gotta have that consistency of being in Champions League. No disrespect to Newcastle, you've been there once and didn't come back the year after. I think if you've come back the year after that, then we can talk. It's just having that consistency of like obviously winning stuff and finishing top six like consistently. And in the last 10, 20 years, it's been the same six that have finished and been in Champions League countless times and finished in the top six countless times. I wouldn't go and call Newcastle a top six when they finished in the top six. What once? Once I think.
I mean, it
Yeah.
comes down to how well you're able to get into that sort of position, but then
Mm.
recruit well enough so that you've got a squad to stay there, right?
Yeah.
You know, like that. I think that's the point you're making. It's like even Spurs, like they're miles off it.
Mm.
At the moment, it's like, yeah, it would be great if Forest get into the Champions League for a number of reasons, but then I actually think they're financially backed well, like quite well though. So I think they would make a fist of it.
Mm.
But Villa have obviously found that they're the classic example this season. Like Villa aren't a million miles off, but the demands of it have certainly sort of caught up to them a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I think happened to Newcastle. That time they got into Champions League, I think the demands of it got to them as well. But they're slowly
Um,
trying to pick back up again.
I, I'm not going to argue that the demands of it got to us, but ours is a slightly different. It would be like Bournemouth now qualifying for the Champions League
Yeah.
when we qualified for it. And probably a little bit similar to Forest, but they've got a much bigger squad still.
Yeah.
That was well above where we should have been at the time.
Yeah, I remember that season. Yeah. Yeah.
So this middle graphic here, not the middle, the middle graphics obviously our Champions League season. The one to
Yeah.
the left of that we're not even in the top 10
Oh yeah,
was
the
the season for the takeover. So as you look at this left to right, left is right now,
yeah.
and then it progressively goes back year by year. So the second from the right image was the takeover season. We're not even in the top 10, and we were basically stonewall to get relegated in December, and then you roll through 18 months from the takeover, and we're in the Champions League. Like that is not sustained. No club is going to cope with the rigors of that after being so like malnourished for 14 years squad wise.
Mm.
And then you finished seventh twice in a row. So
Yeah.
is that
Well,
your? Is
No,
that your
we're currently seventh. So the one on the left
Oh,
is
sorry,
the league table for this season.
I'm a lot more vicious and bitter about it than Jack is. First, to start off, I hate the term top six or the big six because they're not really, are they? Two clubs, say like let's just go on Man City and Chelsea. They weren't particularly big clubs before they got taken over and loads of money pumped into them, were they? Especially in the last 50 years, let's say.
Yeah.
Not really much to talk of. And we're talking about all these teams creeping up there. Essentially, this top six is all based on like money generated by them and clicks. It's nothing to do with what they do as like football teams. It's what they do as clubs. And it like Sky get more notoriety if they say, oh, well, Tottenham done this because loads of people are going to talk about it. It's nothing to do. And that's what gets on my nerves. And everything is so stacked for them to do well. So, right, Brighton have been mentioned a few times. Imagine where they'd be if like these so-called big clubs didn't just poach all their players. Like obviously Brighton have maintained it very well so far, but how long can they keep doing it? When Leicester won the league against all the odds, everyone started taking their players. Or John's just gone for a little break, but Southampton, when they had good players, they got poached. When they had Pochettino, he got taken by Tottenham. So it's still that. It feels like if you only get into that top six if you can get out when they underperform, despite everything being stacked in their advantage, they underperform, then you overperform, usually through transfer dealings. And then all they do is just buy them off you anyway. Like it's pointless. It's
extremely hard to break that cycle of Champions League twice in a row. It's just it's near enough getting to the point because the Premier League now is ridiculously strong. It's so strong. It's so tough. Villa last year were really incredible in some of the games I watched them.
but they've essentially broke the rules to stay there to try and compete that again because they're like on the cusp, aren't they?
They are, yeah. And I just think it's just it's everything is against, let alone the actual, before you even kick a ball, everything is against you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, and that's why it's a bit so shit as a fan that you can't even enjoy that moment because you know what's instantly coming for you. And it's just so hard. I mean, it's going to be really interesting in the next few years how I think what I want to say is it's so hard to build, very much like a few of you said, a squad.
Yeah.
It's so hard to build a squad and to maintain any sort of consistent top four, Champions League, qualification and ultimately going as far as you can in it. You just need an amazing squad, and to get that amazing squad, you need to double your. Most teams have to double their playing budget tomorrow to get that squad of that level, and it's just not sustainable, is it? It's just too hard to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Something else I spotted today, I think, who was the journalist that put it in that article? I think it was Miguel Delaney. Said in season 2021, Leicester were pushing for Champions League. If they qualified, they would have got £2 million for getting in the Champions League. Chelsea would have got 30, despite finishing in the same position and getting into it.
Yeah.
Due to how often you're there and things like that. It's it's really a close shot.
I think that comes down to rankings. Like you're looking at Chelsea, who are 2-time Champions League winners. You're looking at Leicester, who are not. And Chelsea, the rankings are top 10, and Leicester are probably not even top 30. So you're not going to
That's my point, Samir. That's my point, Samir.
Yeah,
they want to make sure these teams are there. And that's my problem. It's not a pure competition.
You'd almost think if it was a meritocracy, actually, surely Leicester overperforming to the extent where they could make it would mean that you would then financially there would be a bigger subsidiary for that, like 100%. It's like,
that's not a Champions League issue. That's a Premier League issue. They've overachieved in the Premier League, only to get into the Champions League. I'm not gonna give you money as a Champions League brand because you done well in your league. And
I see where Stocks.
Go on,
I kind of see where Stocks is going with that, in the sense of like, these are the clubs that are still benefiting the most of it financially, but were actually the ones that not that long ago were quite willing to leave everyone else in the dust.
Oh yeah,
bar sort of like. So it's like the others should sort of be trying to pull together where possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And that it should be set up in a way that it doesn't matter who finishes in the position or who qualifies for what. It's the same every year. So you finish in this position. This is what you get. You get your Champions League space. You get this money, and then obviously once you're in the Champions League, UEFA then decide whatever you get based on games and stuff that you're being shown. But it shouldn't be different for every single club because it does try and make the top six a closed club. So it's the same teams every year.
Yeah,
that's what they want. Like I said earlier on with Matt, like this year, people, like you said, with the stats, are a top six club. Man United and Tottenham don't deserve to be anywhere near such statistics. For several years, especially Man United.
Tottenham definitely shouldn't be.
But they are, because it's all clicks and engagement and all that bollocks. It's got nothing to do with football.
I put down top six, yeah. So let me say top five. I put that down to history. Like, we're all Premier League winners. I don't know why Tottenham's there, but maybe because they've probably finished in the top four a lot more than anyone else. But when it comes down to top five, or used to be top four, it all came down to the history, and we all there was a few years where it was just all the same top four, constantly, just same top four, and just different positions. And I just look at it. They call it the top six because we're the biggest clubs in the league because of the. But we are. How can you say we're not?
You're the most in clubs, but you're not the biggest. They're not the biggest six clubs in the country.
Wait, who's above? Who's in that?
You genuinely believe that out of all of the clubs in the country, that the top, what the media call the top six, are the biggest six clubs in the country?
Who's going to argue that? Yes, they are.
Why Man City and Chelsea, Newcastle and West Ham?
Say that again.
Why Chelsea's and Man City's bigger than say Newcastle's,
Oh my
Aston
days!
Villa,
I'm thinking as in football in the last 20 years, who is the biggest club, Chelsea or,
and
or Newcastle?
why are they bigger?
Yeah,
Why are they
obviously
bigger?
because of the money. Yeah, but
Are
like,
you
Brilliant.
using success as your size of the club, or are you actually talking
no, but
about
that's what,
every
no. I'm just
variable that
saying.
comes into it?
I'm just saying that's where the name the name top 4, top 5 has come from. It's about history. It's not about like
No,
anything
but
else.
you've just plucked 20 years. That's recent history. That's not full history.
Of course, yeah, but that's where the name has come though. It's come in the last 20 years, top 5 or top 6.
I think it's fair play to call it the Premier League top 6, isn't it? I don't think that's particularly up for discussion.
But is that not what it's called?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm agree. I'm saying I
Yeah.
think when it's called, calling it the Premier League top 6, I think
Yeah.
would be fair, because what's that?
Yeah.
That's nearly 30 years, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I
And
don't.
it's the same. And if you look at the list, apart from Leicester, we're the only ones who are on there with Premier League history
Yeah,
winning.
I think there's a top 4 personally for me, and I do think City are in there, which I think is going to go down pretty badly. But Arsenal, City, United, and
Liverpool and Chelsea. Tottenham nowhere near.
Yeah.
No. Tottenham.
I think there's a 5, and then there's probably another 5 after that you could probably have 50 podcasts on arguing. This. But Brighton don't get. Obviously, Brighton aren't even close in there. But then Newcastle, Spurs, Villa. I mean West Ham. I mean, you're never in the Champions League, but I think you probably would be in and around that conversation for it.
Yeah, because
West Ham won a European trophy 2 seasons.
They won a European trophy.
I agree.
So why wouldn't West Ham then be part of the Big 6 over Tottenham? Tottenham haven't won a trophy for.
I'm saying they could be. I'm not necessarily.
Only 10 years. So I don't class. That's what I don't class Tottenham as one. But I just think they put Tottenham in there because I think it was like 5 years in a row we couldn't finish above them, and it was always finishing in the top 4. So it's just it comes down to that. Them finishing in the top 4.
When was this 5 years? Because if you look at the tables we've got on the screen, they've got Champions League once in the last 5 years, and they're not going to get it again this season. So at what point do we turn around and say?
Yeah. So before that, there was a whole I don't know. They used to brag about us. Oh, you ain't finished above us in this many long times and stuff like that. Even though they didn't finish above us for the last 20 years or some shit. But yeah, they had their little 5 or 6 years, and that's what it all comes down to. Tottenham being there, going to the Champions League final. That's the only way. It's not even us. It's like the media have done that.
Okay, well, I'm might not be 100% on this. So I would, based on your initial theory, West Ham should really be above Tottenham when you're talking about a Big 6.
Trophies, recent
trophy in the last however many years. If you're going to use Tottenham's qualifying for the Champions League since the Premier League started as a reason why they should be in there, if we get Champions League again this season, we've qualified for the Champions League the same amount of times as Tottenham have.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we did it a couple of times when it was 2 that got in.
In the year 2,
Yeah.
No one really remembers that. That's crazy.
I do.
I'm old enough, so trust me.
Yeah,
I do because I'm old, and me and Mitch talk about it a lot.
I think you preferred that time than what was it? Last season you was in it. You preferred the them years, innit? When you was in
I loved it when we was. I didn't have any bad moments of when we was in it last year at all. I loved every single minute of being in the Champions League last season. Every single minute. We had 3 great teams to play. Fair enough, we went out in the group stage, but
it was
like whoever finished 4th last season probably would have gone out in the group stage in that same group.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like we let the Premier League down or anything. We had a ridiculously hard group. We went out and we went for it. We didn't throw the Champions League to try and get Champions League again from the Premier League. We went for it.
Too early to think like that. Yeah.
Going back to like the like teams breaking into this supposed top 6. I went back like 10 years.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of years where Southampton finished.
I'll tell you what.
7th.
Do you want to talk about the year that? Sorry, the year that Leicester won the league, and this is the bit, and obviously because Leicester won the league, it would never have been the story. That season, we were 3 points off the Champions League place. It's obscene. It's mad how close we were.
Yeah, and West Ham were a point behind you that year as well. So
Yeah.
Southampton had a good couple of years. So I think they were Koeman, weren't they? Just after Poch.
I think 1 year it'd be Poch, 1 year it'd be no. You're right. They'd have both been Koeman. I think it'd been seventh and sixth with Koeman. Yeah.
Yeah. Then slowly their players got picked. Then a couple of years later, Wolves finished 7th, 2 years on the bounce, and Leicester were in there.
Yeah.
And then all these teams are there for a couple of years, and then they drop off and they drop back into it. So like West Ham got up to 6 a couple of times and a 7th. But they just don't have the advantages of all of these other clubs, so they just drop back. So even now, West Ham are doing comparatively well, but we still can't match them finances, which is why we had to sell our best player to Arsenal for 100 million, because they have that clear financial advantage. So
I think another element that comes into it. Sorry, go on, let's finish your point. Sorry.
No, go on, mate.
I think another thing that comes into it when you mention us, and like I always look at clubs like Brighton because people talk about how brilliantly run Brighton are. One of the big things, players got nicked off us and things like that. But it was actually the backroom staff that people, because like, once Poch left, like Paul Mitchell and all that, a lot of the things that were going well at Southampton recruitment wise, all of that went, and it's really hard to sustain not just like your squad, but the actual how you're going to replenish that over the years that are coming. That's kind of where we fell foul. And I always look at clubs like, clubs like that are in there now, Brighton, Bournemouth. Like, what happens when they stop coming for your players? And in addition, what happens when it's not just your players that they come for? When they come for the backroom staff that are getting that all in place as well.
Yeah,
that's quite a common thing now in football.
That was kind of going to be my next question, because there's a couple of the clubs that are doing the highest 2 clubs that you wouldn't call the traditional Big Six in Forest and Brighton at the minute, who have got very different ways of going about it. So Forest basically turned around and went, "Fuck your rules. We're going to buy all these players. We're going to take the hit, and then the following season is going to be our season." That's basically what they've done. And their owner is just a mad bastard who will probably do it again if he has to when they get into the Champions League. Or then on the flip side, you've got Brighton, which is a similar-ish kind of model to what Southampton's and other teams have had.
Yeah.
But to sort of combat what John was saying, what happens when they come for the backroom staff, that's led by the owner. It's led by the owner's data system, how they find the players. So it's regardless of who they take in the backroom staff, as long as the owner's there, that system works regardless, because it's all data driven. It's like he's playing Football Manager and he picks the next guy based on what happens in his data driven system.
Yeah, it's just mad in it when Brighton brings someone on. They're like, "Oh, coming on to make his debut," and they come on. You're like, "Who the fuck is this fucking LA regen they've got?" And then you're like, "And which random South American country? Oh, Ecuador. Cool. Sound right."
As Todd Bowley opens his checkbook.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, but very much like John said. I mean, Chelsea did that to them.
Yeah.
And they sort of, you look at that and you're very much like, "Oh, we know what happens next." And actually it didn't, did it? They sort of booked. But also looking at this then, so they didn't finish top 10 last season, Brighton.
No.
Oh, no, they didn't.
It felt like they had a good...
So
they missed out on the final day, I think. I think Palace pipped them on the last day.
So they had a very similar season to us. It's just they weren't Champions League. They were in the other European competition.
Europa.
So they had a similar kind of downturn because of that.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think that here's a question which will probably make... I am a football purist, so it does make me feel sick to even say. To get Champions League 2 years in a row is probably now harder than winning a trophy.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, just
if you're a certain club, yes.
I was about to say that, John, but I didn't want to be cocky.
Right.
Well, I would say for any club. I would say for any club, because if any club, say,
no, you are right.
The club turn around who are potentially good enough to qualify for the Champions League, if they put all of their eggs into an FA Cup or a League Cup shaped basket, they would have more chance of getting that than saying, right, we're going to finish in the Champions League 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I would suggest with someone like Brighton, if they went, we want to win the League Cup. Well, get into the final. You might then meet, an unbeatable force, something like that.
Yeah.
But
Liverpool.
actually, I'll do a massive U-turn instantly, seeing as that backfired. No, I think if you're getting into it for the first time, or you haven't been in it for 10 years, say, so you get in, and then you manage to get into it the next year, that is like a way more impressive than winning a trophy. I think now there's so much money and there's so much against you. If you've not been in it for a while, you get into it and manage to get into it the next year, because that third year, that's when you can be like, holy shit, we've got 2 years of Champions League money now behind us. We've shown we can do it. You get another quality of player in, and that's when tides change.
Yeah.
That's when someone can go, right, we can now make a push to become a inverted commas, heavily inverted commas, top 4 team. Because everything's against you. Like Villa, as soon as Villa qualified, every single news article was about who they've got to sell. Instantly, as soon as they qualified for the Champions League, it was about all the rules and everything that was against them, what they need to sell, where they need to be. Like, that's just shit as a football fan, isn't it? Yeah. Whether it's right or wrong, as a football fan for Aston Villa, you don't even get to celebrate the moment. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's so shit because you already know how hard it is to get there again, let alone everything that's against you. Like, it's just a bit shit. But that's the closed. But but is that a bad thing? Because if it wasn't so hard, how would a West Ham sneak in there? How would a Brighton sneak in there? Like, if it wasn't that hard for that 4th finishing team or 5th finishing team to fail, then it would become ridiculously closed shop and actually quite shit, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, even now, going back onto Villa, even now, they kind of have to qualify for the Champions League, or they're basically screwed come the summer.
And the cycle's broken. That upward trajectory has hit its ceiling.
It's going to hit its ceiling, yeah. And even if they get into the Champions League, they're still in a bit of a problematic situation because they then need to show revenue growth to account for more of their. What they've basically done is they've used up all of their revenue and wages. They're at something like 96% of their revenue is used up because of the wages they pay. So now that the new rules are coming in where you can't be over 80 or something like that, or you get the fine and the points deduction.
Oh, wow.
They're fucked. They have to get Champions League and they have to grow their revenue in another way.
Yeah.
But they still probably have to sell players off.
And the knock-on effect that has on the actual fan base, because actually, like, if you remember going back, cast your minds back to like September when the Champions League started, look at the prices that their fans were being quoted for Champions League tickets. Yeah. It was abysmal. And you just look at that and you think that's your reward as a fan base. Like, you think for Villa fans, they've been waiting decades for this. Like, and your reward when you finally get there is actually you're footing the bill for that.
Yeah.
Bonkers, man.
Yeah.
Crazy. And the weird thing about it is the ticket revenue is one of the smallest parts of revenue. It's not massive. It doesn't make massive amounts of difference. So it's crazy that clubs do that.
You make one bad signing, that's the equivalent of all your revenue just gone anyway.
Yeah.
One even subpar signing of any type, that's all of that just eaten up. But yeah, John, you're exactly right. From the fans' point of view, it's just like great. Was it even worth it? Basically,
yeah, pretty much. And this is it, because obviously, I mean, it's easy to say when you're rock bottom of the Premier League and like you're not even 2 feet in the Championship. You're sort of dangling by your arms at this point, like at this stage of the season. But there's such a bracket of fans that like that I know that support sort of like football league clubs that they actually look at it and go, actually, you know what, getting promoted to the Premier League is our worst nightmare because we'd lose what we have now and what we enjoy about it. And it's without incredibly ridiculous levels of investment. Is from a paying fan's point of view, like the Premier League's not always the place you want to see your club at, and that sounds bonkers to say.
No,
there's a variety. There's a big section of football fans that and I have to admit, they're generally the ones that very, very, very rarely would go to a game, or are very much used to just watching their team on Sky or whatever. And but they're very much, well, if you're not in the Premier League, what's the point?
Mm.
So yeah, you get that. I mean, I'm sure, like Jack, you probably get that as a Bolton fan as well,
Yeah,
right?
I've really thought about it more this season than I ever have. And I'll be honest with you, I remember when Ipswich got promoted, like the teams that were going down were like, it's really, really not all it's cracked up to. Like,
You don't want to
it's
You don't
really
wanna go
not. And I think Leicester fans said it when they came up this year as well. And the reason why I would really begrudge it is because teams like right, and actually I do mean disrespect on this. Yeah, I'm not going to caveat it and say not being successful. I do mean disrespect on it. Teams like Brighton and Bournemouth and Brentford, who would just fucking slap us up so badly to levels. I would just be so bitter and angry that sliding doors moment happened for them. And unfortunately, Bolton were completely on the wrong side of it. It couldn't have gone much worse for us. And that's why, obviously, you know, I'm not naive to it. Going to United, going to Arsenal, going to Spurs, like, we're going to lose, you know, most of the time anyway. But at least you get that. I get that experience as a fan. But yeah, getting battered every week, I just really wouldn't enjoy it. And that's why I like being in League One, because every single match day, like, I truly believe we will win. Whether we win or not is sadly by the by, but it's the belief. But I wouldn't go into any game thinking we're going to win. Like, it's just shit. And
I understand that wholeheartedly.
Something's going to change now because, like we just said, there's probably a top five, and that's probably fair to say. Certainly on the Premier League, like, that is unmistakably fair on what has happened. A top five, then you've got probably another five, and then it's almost getting to the point now where you've got a pool of 13 teams after that is your Premier League, like, and I think that's the way that the league has now got. Well, actually, no. I'll say that again. You've got top five, another five that you could argue about, then another five that you argue about, and then you've got a bottom five, and I'd say maybe a top 4 or 5 from the Championship. So you've got that 10 teams that now is just going to be a constant churn. And I'm not going to say it's as good as winning a trophy, because it's absolutely not. But in terms of achievement now, it's I've almost like blinked, and getting up and getting, 17th is now a proper achievement. Like, that's an achievement to get promoted and get 17th. Like, that's shit as a football.
That's so true.
A couple of years ago, it used to be kind of like, probably for about 13th down, you were more or less just it was purgatory. It was just purgatory. Football in purgatory. You just eventually it'll be our year. 1 year we'll have an injury crisis. 1 year we'll just shit the bed with a bad signing, and you are just sat there, and even prior to us going down a couple of years ago, we probably spent 4 to 5 years before that, like, really just sort of like, yeah, it's probably the year. It's probably the year, and they say as a football fan, I kind of miss that, like, League One optimism, as a fan, you have a lot of fun.
My mate, who's a Burnley fan, said it to me the other day. He said the Premier League for me is like a Sunday ordering off Uber Eats. It's the perusal and the waiting for it and the hoping for it. Then when it comes, you're like, fucking hell, it's not that great. Why did I spend 3 hours going through all the menus and then chose this dish? But, like, it's the idea of getting there, and the obviously the race to get there. But then when you're there, it's just not.
Because I did say, like, for me, the football pervert in me did want to go up through the playoffs, and I really enjoyed that experience. I met with a mate over the summer, like, and we got fairly steaming and whatever. And the next time I saw him, do you remember what you said to me right before I left? No, we were just sitting there having this like chat about football, and, like, obviously we're all 3 sheets to the wind. And all of a sudden, I just got really serious and went, I don't want to go to the Premier League. I'm going to miss the Championship. It's so true. But I can't wait for the fixture list release. Like, it's one of them.
Yeah, times have changed. Times have
Yeah.
changed. Honestly, there used to be celebrations of
To be
flipping.
Used to be the pinnacle, man.
fair to me, I don't think they have. I don't think they have changed that much because even when we was in the championship, at that time,
He was
I
having fun.
preferred the championship.
Yeah, he was having fun. Innit?
We were playing every other week, and we got over 100 points. So that's what we must have got like 30 something wins in 46 games.
Yeah,
Whereas we'd get promoted to the Premier League, and under Mike Ashley, we'd get about 8. So when people say to me, "Did you not like the time?" I was like, "Well, yeah, it hurt when we got relegated, but we were winning like 70, 80% of the time. So my weekends were good 70, 80% of the time.
yeah.
Whereas when I'm in the Premier League, 70, 80% of the time, I'm pissed off because we got beat.
Stress. Yeah, up and down.
It's the hope. It's
If
the
you just
hope.
judge it on the
It's the belief.
happiness scale, what would you rather do? Be happy 80% of the time or be pissed off 80% of the time?
And also, if you lose on Saturday, you're playing again on Tuesday.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like
Get that.
you play, you see different teams. It's not the same. You don't have the same like bloody, well, more or less what 12 to 13 teams in the Premiership have been there for donkeys.
Yeah.
In the Champo, it's always changing. So I think it's 4 up. Is it 4 or 3 up from League One?
Yeah.
Free up.
Yeah.
You haven't been there. It's been way too long since you've been there. Stop, mate.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is West Ham.
Glory.
West Ham have only been down twice, and already just can't quite get up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the championship
again
is a
yesterday.
ridiculously hard league now, which I think probably is where you get the extra satisfaction from getting through it, because that's now becoming quite a condensed league of, because Middlesbrough, they were certainly, when we were growing up, Middlesbrough were a Premier League team, weren't they? Like they were just unmistakably Middlesbrough were a Premier League team.
Big
Like,
finance money pumped in by Gibson, weren't it?
Yeah, and they were good value for a good value Premier League team. West Brom and I mean Fulham are probably the last team. I don't know. I'm just scanning this list now. Probably the last team that has booked any trend, right? Because Fulham have had a good season, built on
Forest,
it.
wasn't it?
Actually, look. Oh yeah, sorry. Forest. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely, but.
It was the year that Fulham and Forest come up, and I can't remember.
Yeah, that's the right year. So that year, sort of in the middle at the bottom, which is not last season, the season before. None of all of them 3 teams are still in the Prem, and it's the only one of these images where that's happened.
Yeah.
And the 2 seasons since, the 3 that have come up have gone straight back down.
Yeah, I was looking like a bit like with the top 6 thing. I was looking at the promoted sides, and generally, it's a bit like getting into the top 6 thing. Like the odd team have stayed there for a season, like Huddersfield, Sheffield United, but they ended up dropping as well because, again, it's like stacked against them. I think the only clubs that like have stayed up are sort of West Ham, Leicester have been up and down a few times. West Ham, Newcastle, Villa, and Fulham, because they've had previous there.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of more used to it to a degree. And that's why I think Bournemouth and Brighton just need to be celebrated that bit more.
Yeah. What about Wolves?
Never really been top league team.
No, Wolves have been up and down. No, Wolves have been there.
Wolves have been a bit up and down.
Wolves,
Norwich
one of the best
have been a bit up and down too.
Yeah, Wolves when they came up were considered one of the best promoted sides ever, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were.
They've been up since, no?
Yeah, but they also had like decent level international players in their team, and like João Pedro, Neves, Ruben Neves was playing for them in the championship. By the way.
And Jota,
They won the league at our place at Bolton. They won the league at Bolton, and I remember just someone saying, "What the fuck you meant to do?" Because this, a fan say, "Was like, what we meant to do?" Like,
But just to explain this image a little bit more, so the black bit at the top of each image is the promoted teams, and then you've got this season's bottom 7 or 8, whatever that is, and then you've got the bottom 3 from all the other years with it. So, so the one on the left obviously shows the 3 teams that came up this season, and then this season's table. The 3 teams that came up last season, how last season's table finished. So, like
it's
Jack,
mad.
the last season so the 21-22 season they got promoted from the championship. Those three teams haven't gone down, but every other season, two of the three have gone back
I
down.
think it's 10 of the last 15.
Yeah, and only one other team from this list is still in the Premier League apart from that one season. So Fulham, Bournemouth, and Forest have stayed. Brentford has stayed. Everybody else has gone.
Wow.
So I saw the other day, linked to this as well. It was a table on teams with the most Premier League points.
Yeah.
So throughout history, and Southampton. John, where do you reckon you are?
I think we're about 10th or 11th, I think.
Well, you're 11th, so that was some Rain Man
Yes.
shit. Well done. Yeah. We just scroll through our phones whilst we're sobbing on a Saturday evening, isn't it?
Yeah, I've seen that stat before. That's why. Sorry.
Who's the top six?
So, well, yeah. So, also 12th, Blackburn. I just completely forgot. Obviously, they're a winner, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're top six. Sure, you can go on, guess it.
Well, it's got to be Man United, Liverpool,
Yeah.
Arsenal. I think that's more
Chelsea.
No, Liverpool and that's cock.
Yeah, Liverpool is second. Man United, Liverpool.
No.
Arsenal.
It's United, then Arsenal.
Yeah, we were second. I remember.
Oh, fair enough.
United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, and then there's quite a big gap to fifth.
Oh shit! What? Wait, I don't know, but City have only been recent, isn't it? So
It's got to be. But City were up for a while before they were taken over, and they had a decent stay in the 90s, I think. So I reckon they'd be in the top six, surely.
Is it Tottenham?
It is, yeah.
I think City will be 8th. I think.
So it goes from not much between them, really. Well, I mean, United quite clearly on top. Not much between Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea. And then there is 300 points difference between 4th and 5th with Spurs. Another 100 points difference with City in 6th. And 7th?
Everton or Villa.
Yeah.
Villa.
Everton.
Villa. Oh, Everton, yeah, they've been in the Premier League.
Everton.
Yeah.
And then 8th, your boys, James. Villa. 10th.
West Ham.
And Southampton. And then looking at the bottom of them, so you've got Blackburn, then Leicester, which I didn't think Leicester would actually be that. I suppose they were in it for a long time, weren't they?
Yeah.
Leeds, Fulham. So Fulham's obviously year on year now. So Fulham in a couple of years will probably take over they will take over Blackburn in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Palace, because they're now pretty mainstay-ish, aren't they?
Yeah.
Borough, Sunderland, Bolton, West Brom, and then Stoke are 21st. Not sure, probably just because of their cult team. They made it top 21 just to get Stoke. Just make sure Stoke. But yeah, that's Matt. But that doesn't look like there's going to be much change on that from clubs.
Yeah, that's a good stat. That
coming up. Basically, what I mean is West Brom, who are now 20th. Well, I'll say Middlesbrough, who are 17th. They'll probably be in and around 17th for another 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And then you'll blink, and then Brighton, Bournemouth, Brentford will shoot up that league, and 3 will just go straight away, won't they? Because of where they are now.
Yeah.
If the arse doesn't fall out prior to that, in terms of
course, yeah. But it's almost getting to the point where it would take a lot for the arse to fall out, because these teams just can't stay up, can they?
No.
True.
And
I think they were saying last season the bottom 3 that went down averaged 0.6 points per game, and the current bottom 3 are on track to actually beat that in terms of it's actually on track to be worse than that.
Yeah.
So that tells you all you need to know in terms of how difficult it's getting.
Yeah, it is bonkers. And then if you look at the 3 that went down last season, 2 of them right in the chase. Well, one of them should be coming back automatically, but two of them are in the chase. And Sheffield United got a points deduction and are still sitting in second in the Championship.
Yeah.
Bonkers. And then the
And
team
they,
that's
and they were
top of
crap
the
in the
league,
Premier League. They were actually really
Oh,
shit, weren't they?
horrendous, weren't they?
and the
Yeah,
team that's
so
top of Leeds who went the season before that.
Yeah. No, but even like when
But
Sheffield
look,
United went down, you weren't like, wow, that squad is going to tear the Championship apart.
No.
Next season or anything like that. And then they had got new owners, weren't they? They were in real trouble at one point, weren't they? But yeah, and so if Luton actually
Get relegated.
if I was a Derby
It's
County,
possible.
unfortunately they've got the points stat, but they must be taking into account the money you get now. They must be the worst Premier League team in history.
Yeah.
I don't know. Russell Martin, Southampton have entered the chat on that one, man. There's some.
But the money's so much
To get
more right
relegated-
now, isn't it?
And then
To get relegated back to back, so champion from the Premier
Yeah,
League
true.
and then from the Championship is probably
all.
harder to do than to
Yeah.
get into the Champions League 2 seasons on the bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bonkers.
I think Huddersfield came really close to it when they went down. I think Huddersfield went down, and then I think they stayed up by the skin of their teeth in the Champo.
They did. Yeah, they did.
But that still would have. There's probably still a £50 million difference between that moment and now. I know players
Yeah.
get paid more, but like the amount of money you get more now in the Premier League to go down twice in a row is absolutely crazy.
Crazy,
Like-
honestly.
Like, I mean, especially if my team is still in League One, I don't want them to come down because they must still have some money.
Yeah.
Don't they still get a parachute payment as well?
Yeah, for 2 more years.
Fucking hell.
Oh, shit.
That's what I'm
I mean,
saying.
You got League One then?
You could actually, because a lot of teams, I think in England at the moment, seem to be going really well when they get promoted to the division above. They're just riding that positivity. Train have got a good squad and they seem to be doing well. It's only when you get to the Premier League that these basically if you go up from National League, they seem to do well in League Two. You go up from League, as in promoted well, not just scrapping around. Promoted from League Two to League One, again same difference. League One to Championship. Look what Ipswich did. They won our league and then went up the next season, which is pretty insane in this era. They've just bucking the trend of what we're saying. But then they get to the Premier League and it's not like, oh yeah, I've got a sniff at 12th. It's like, oh no, I'm fucking 20. I'm 25 points off safety. Like, it's not even close, is it? It's not even close.
In some ways,
It's crazy. What are you saying? I'm sorry, Starks, go.
No, go on, mate.
No, crack on, man, crack on.
I was going to say that's why I always rated what Norwich did, because they're like, all right, we're up, fair enough. We'll take all your money. We won't worry about spending loads of it because we're not going to stay up anyway.
Yeah.
And then they just sort of just strengthen their club as a whole. I think what a lot of teams have done in the past is becoming less prevalent. They don't bother chasing it. Just take the money and go.
Go, yeah.
Ipswich have said that. They've openly said, we're like 3 years ahead of where we thought we'd be. We're going to go up, not do anything daft, come down with a squad that we feel can then romp it, and then basically you catch up with if you can catch up with your parachute payment, you're laughing. That's basically the position we want to be in. That they'll go. If we go down, that's fine. We need to get up to catch up with our parachute payment and then get our new Premier
They
League.
spent a fair heft in the summer, though. Like, they did spend a bit. Like, it wasn't like they just came up and like Norwich were genuinely. I think Norwich came up and actually spent like under $1 million on like 1 or 2 players or something like that. And
It
then
happened to be team
Ipswich just spent.
to go.
Well, yeah. If you know, you know, right? I guess. But there's a trend as well that I'd be interested to see if it continues, because like last year there was very much like in the Championship, there was the 3 sides that came down, and Ipswich were kind of the anomaly. But there was like that top 4 had cut away by like the new year, and it's happened again this year where you've got 2 of the sides that came down in Burnley and Sheffield United. You've got Leeds, who were like the 4th side that just didn't go up last year, so they're there again. And now Sunderland have kind of broken into that and are kind of there and thereabouts. But I'd be interested next year to see, is that going to be a similar case? Like 3 of those will go up, 1 of them will stick around in that mix, and then you've got the 3 of us coming down. Or is there going to be another side that maybe breaks into that? Because it's actually got to the point now where like the playoff race is really only about 5th and 6th, which it never always used to be like that. And I wonder if that will be like a knock-on effect of what we're seeing here.
Yeah, the pressures now of not getting up The pressures now, if you are that fourth team, is just astronomical, isn't it? Like, and Leeds basically said we have to go up next year because they've not really sold anyone. Really, Leeds, and they're
Care and bother if they don't.
because we can't be that. You can't be that fourth team 2 seasons in a row.
Well, it's like
Bit of
Burnley.
a sicker as well.
Burnley, when they got taken over the summer previous, essentially the new owners leveraged everything on their own stadium training ground because they're taking all the Premiership money and they owned everything. So they owned the stadium, they owned the training ground. Nothing was on tick. But with this buyout, they don't own these things anymore. Like, they're leveraged. So for that model, for their model to survive, these new owners, they need the Premiership money.
Yeah,
like it's murky, and this is why it gets difficult and then that pressure ramps up, and that's when you can buckle. And if you, a lot of teams chase it. Like Leeds done it consistently for years, didn't they?
All these Yanks coming over here and stealing our training grounds, our proud British training grounds.
Right, anybody feel like they've got anything else to add on the Premier League potentially being a closed shop these days?
No,
I won't be able to
I
sleep.
like the way you took a step back from this conversation to me because you know nothing about the Championship.
Yeah, I've not
That's no real football. He doesn't know real football, does he?
All you peasants can talk among yourselves, and I'll just sit here and listen.
No, my best friend plays Championship, man. I watch Championship football. So
Hey, your best friend is a Newcastle legend, by the way.
No, not him.
Oh,
No.
Well, he's not there. Fuck it.
I was going to say though, the actual promotion race in the Champo is mental this year because like Leeds, I think last weekend were in a position where if they'd have beaten West Brom, they'd have gone 10 clear of third.
Yeah.
They drew that and they've lost at Fratton Park today. Now like there's 2 points between the top 3. It's mad. Like how quick it moves.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Jack was saying earlier because he messaged me about Bolton and Orient when they played each other a few weeks back. Orient could have gone 6 clear, and now they're like 10 behind.
Oh my God, they've dropped off.
Yeah, that's what it was. If they beat us, they would have gone 6 points ahead of us, and they had a game in hand. And now, if we win our game in hand on Tuesday, which is like less than a month later, we'll be 10 points clear of them.
Jeez, that's mad.
Reaching the heady heights of 5th into the League One of English football.
You're not threatening to come to St Mary's next year, are you?
Potentially, mate. Yeah,
that'd be a good laugh.
Potentially. Yeah. And then I'll walk out there saying the Championship shit is just a closed shop.
That'll be 20 minutes in when you're 2 down.
No, that's not true because I wouldn't be there for 20 minutes if we were 2-0 down. No more rule. 2 down, off to town.
Oh, only 2. That's not God.
Yeah, it's a strict policy as well.
My mate's one is free. It's the 3-0 rule, which has been invoked a fair bit this season.
I'd be having a kebab at 3, yeah. At 4, I just break the home, so it's quite an expensive do.
I believe that too. That's crazy.
Right, boys, it has been a pleasure as always. Another great conversation about. Yeah, fantastic. Anybody got anything they want to plug before we shoot? The silence is deafening.
I can't even plug tomorrow because I'm not going on because I'm actually going at the game.
Well, there you go. So you will see me on SpursKingsTV, the Monday pitch tomorrow. You might even catch me on the Rival show again this week because I was there last Wednesday. So see how it goes. But thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. See you next week.
Cheers, gents. All the best.
Cheers, guys.